Welcome to Simply Sheppy, your community podcast which aims to create and enhance connections within the community to build a better Sheppy.
Welcome to the podcast. Tunde Jotham from New Covenant Church, the pastor. How you doing?
I'm good,
We're
thanks for having me today. It's a real pleasure. It's an honor. So
to be doing the podcast in your church at Ward Hill, Minster, Highview. Mm-hmm. So how did we meet?
Wow.
Can you remember?
Yeah, I guess I was
special day for you.
Sat in my office. It was about a couple of years ago now, and it was a phone call from this gentleman I didn't know at the time, and he asked me a question that if I had $1 million, $1 billion, yeah,
did that muck around?
What would we do with it? And that got me thinking, and I think we set up our first meeting.
Yeah.
And it was the first meeting was a very interesting chat about pulling down structures across the road and merging them together.
So that was it, because I was gonna, if I had £1 billion, I was gonna buy the church. And
yes.
I was gonna do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But I didn't have £1 billion.
We didn't have £1 billion at the time.
No.
Yeah. And we're still working towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still on our way. So that opened up conversations with what would I do, what would we do, and the podcast studio was mentioned.
Correct.
You gave us permission to use the room.
Yes,
which we cleared out.
Yeah.
They did a little bit.
A little bit of sanding.
Just a little bit of sanding, and we cleaned out, and now we're in the podcast studio recording our first podcast.
It's interesting. It's new territories and
technology for Tunde. Yeah. So that's So one of the things was unpacking, and we'll get onto it, but this is linked with the community and all that sort of stuff. So we're in podcast studio, which is a community podcast studio at the New Covenant Church at Ward Hill, Minster, and we're recording this for Simply Sheppy. So New Covenant Church, what is it?
New Covenant Church is a church that was started originally in Nigeria by a gentleman called Reverend Dr. Paul Jinodu. He lives in Jotham, and there are churches worldwide in Africa, America, North and South, the United Kingdom. I think the next place we're aiming for is Australia. We haven't got one there yet, but I think that's about the only continent we don't have a presence.
I've just been to Perth, so I've got some contacts in Perth. If you want.
That's a good start. Within the United Kingdom, there are about 47 branches.
Right.
Yeah, and we're one of those 47 branches. We got set up on the island about 5 years ago now, just before COVID, and then COVID hit, and then we're back again on the island after COVID. It's been an interesting journey. The New Covenant Church, Minster on Sea, was set up on 4 structures for everyone who believes you require forgiveness from God. We come together as a community, understanding that we have all fallen short of the mark. That is, we have all sinned before God. And we recognize that we're a community of people who have sinned, but God has forgiven us through the blood of Jesus Christ. So there's no shame in having sinned. So if there are any out there who feel that they require forgiveness, this is a good place to come together as a community of people who recognize that we have fallen short of the mark of Christ. The second tenet that we stand upon is that we benefit and we enjoy from the mercy of God. Sometimes when we sin, there are consequences for sinning. But we come together as a community knowing that the God we serve is a merciful God. He is full of mercy. So if people are suffering from the consequences of sin, for example, because of sin, they no longer have peace in their minds, in their hearts. When we come together, we recognize that God is merciful. He restores that peace. The third thing we're built upon is that it's a house of restoration. So in the course of life, we go through so many battles, and sometimes you get tired of fighting. It's you're fighting against finances, the society that is full of evil. So we're constantly fighting and fighting and fighting. And sometimes you lose stuff along the way. You lose money, you lose your peace, you lose relatives, you lose. So we recognize that when we come before God, whatever we may have lost in terms of our peace, in terms of money, God is able to restore that. So it's a house of restoration. And the fourth that it's built on is that it's a house of revival. God wants to create a new world through our lifestyles. So people see our lifestyles, see the examples that we lay. And because of what they see, they want to refrain from what is wrong, what is evil, and start doing what is right. And that is what we call a revival, starting a new world. So it is on those four tenets that the New Covenant Church Minster is built. It is a church that is open to everyone in the community. We're a growing family, but we have people from different nationalities. And that is one of the things that excite me, that the church is not just, God doesn't see color. God is colorblind. He sees people from every nationality. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about this. I call it family. The New Covenant Church Minster family. So yeah, that's where we are in a nutshell. Like I said, our doors are open to everyone in the community. No matter how spiritual or non-spiritual you are, we all started from somewhere.
So they can come in, they have to wear learner plates when they come in.
Yes.
It's funny. So this rolls on really to, so I didn't just introduce Lee officially, but Lee with us co-hosting Think I Believe and Simply Sheppy with this community connections thing, because already when you was chatting there about, so we've got a link with the Pyramid Group, which is the Maslow's hierarchy, and we're based on in Think and Believe's podcast studio, who sponsored this, which is using life coaching based on the grow mentality and this growth, this upward spiral of developing and getting the best out of people. You're sitting with some flowers that I grew there. These are my own flowers that I grew there that are flourishing wonderfully. Don't touch them.
Interesting.
But they're getting the best of people, and it links in, doesn't it, with the synergy with some of the stuff and what we've been brought together with in connecting and helping with people.
I think to sort of just jump in with the community bit, it's anything that goes on the island in particular, quite often there's all good intentions to develop a particular group or a particular field in terms of education, or just general getting together and people living a good life. But in order for that to happen, it's really important that we connect with everyone. And sometimes, as an example, looking at the church, I know you need some work doing. There's issues around the structure, and quite often, having spoken to other groups, there you can find ways of overcoming that. And that could be through grant funding, it could be through support of local businesses, or local community groups helping out. So I do think that the importance of making things successful and growth is joining everything up.
It's the basis of the Simply Sheppy podcast, is bringing together the best of Sheppy and supporting.
Yeah.
So since we've connected, so my mum's group was doing craft.
Yeah.
And they now was using a hall which shut down, so they now use it on, I think it's the first
Wednesday of each month.
So they're using the hall for that, and there's usually about 15 girls out there, isn't there?
It started. I remember the first time they came in. There were just about 4 of them,
Yeah.
And then the following month, it's just went up to about 10, 12.
Yeah.
And I think regularly now they're about 15. And that's part of what I'm saying, that we want to connect with the community. We're so happy being a part of this community. In Christian terms, we say that we're blessed. We're blessed to have a facility like this hall, which members of the community are glad to come in and use.
So just open that up, because I've got down what would you want from the community, but just explain the hall, because from the front, I think it just looks like a church. But
yes,
we put an image of the church up.
Yes, this was before we cut the grass.
Yeah. But out the front you've got the church hall, which how many seats?
The church comfortably sits 100 people.
Yeah.
We could expand that to 120 if we need to push. Behind the hall we've got what we call a function hall, which is what we open up to the community. We have the crafts people using it on the first Wednesday of each month. We are starting a coffee morning. I believe it's actually this Saturday.
And that was from one of the girls that came to the craft.
Yes.
So Saturday mornings. Cancer.
Yes. Yeah. They're having a coffee morning.
I think as a cancer.
Yeah. We allow young ones have their birthday parties. I'm specific about the young ones because I'm careful about our neighbors. We've got neighbors all around us. I don't want a big party around here, but for the young ones from the ages of say 4 to about say 10, they've come in to hire the hall, and that's on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah. I don't think we want parties beyond at this time. No, we're very, very careful of the neighborhood, and so I think the next phase of opening up the hall, because it's still a new thing, is to have like a board outside.
Yeah,
a notice board.
Yeah, to start letting people know. Yeah, so if anyone's interested, I mean, we can put a couple of images up if you're watching this on YouTube of the hall and the facilities, and in the links is Tunde's contact details. So, and on the Wednesdays at the moment we're here with the podcast studio. At the moment that's going to open up. So there's a podcast studio which we're here doing, which is a community. And me and Tunde are working in partnership. So Think and Believe and New Covenant with supplying this. Is another service that's here. You've got the kitchen there as well.
Yes.
Because I grew up here coming to nursery, which was my mum was involved in this building, in actually getting the funding for it as a community. She used to clean the floors. She used to tie rags to her knees and her feet, and they used to skim round on the floor and cleaning it. So it's got some history here. And most people, like the Cub Scouts, we went to Cubs here. Yeah. So there's a lot of history with it, and I think it would be good for the community to start getting engaged more and connecting, and us doing more activities here. So I think this is the start of something moving on. Is there any asks of the community or messages you want to put out?
I think the starting point, the reason we're here is to spread the gospel of Christ. We call it the good news. So we welcome everyone from within the community to worship with us on Sunday mornings. We're here on Sunday mornings from 10 in the morning through 11:30. We're a Pentecostal family, which means we're a happy, clappy set of people. The worship is great. It's if you don't sweat, I guarantee you'll sweat.
So the Blues Brothers, I remember the scene in the Blues Brothers. Is that what I'm talking about?
Not exactly.
No. I wanted to do. We could do that. We could recreate that scene.
Yeah.
The band.
So, the service consists mainly of three things: a time of prayer, a time of worship, and hearing the Word of God. So that's from 10 o'clock in the morning through 11:30. The second area we'd like the community to connect with us is obviously activities. We've spoken about the craft people. We've spoken about the coffee mornings. We've spoken about opening the hall to people who want to have birthdays for their children. But there's still so much more we can use this facility for. I'm so glad that we've opened the podcast station here. This is the first I'm having anyway, and it's a great experience. I know that a couple of people 2 Sundays ago we had an event here, and some people saw the podcast station and were very impressed. And hopefully we'll start receiving some inquiries. The hall too, I used to train young ones playing table tennis until I broke a leg.
I didn't know it was that dangerous.
Yeah.
I won't play you.
Yeah. Don't beat him.
No.
Because actually broke the leg kicking.
So we could also open up the hall for sporting activities, indoor activities. And yeah, there's still so much more I think we can do together with the community.
Yeah, I think that's good. So great. Cheers for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Add?
No, that's great. I think there's one thing I would say is that you look at the picture of the hall, and it's almost like Doctor Who's TARDIS. When you come in, it looks so much bigger inside than it is from the outside.
Yes.
But again, as I mentioned earlier, it'd also be great if we can help with any renovations that you need to keep it spick and span, and certainly around the canteen area, we can develop that for you and get that up and running nicely.
So it might be worth saying Wednesdays we want to try and open up and create a funding buddy system or a team to start coming up and helping us as a church, us as a group to find funding, and potentially other charities in finding funding. So that might be something just to add on the end if anyone's interested in coming along and helping with the community connection stuff. And,
I think what I would add is yes, if you look at the building from the outside, it doesn't give a brilliant picture of what is on the inside. What I'd like it to be is actually like a community hub where different groups can come in, own it. We could maybe in the future we could also convert the hall, not convert, but use the hall for conferences. But yes, I think the kitchen needs a lot of work done.
Yeah, we've got some drawings made up for the new kitchen, so that'll be one of the first things we can look at in terms of funding or great. Volunteers to come and crack on with it. But I definitely think hopefully this will kick off more linking with the community connections with New Covenant Church, us at Think and Believe, and other people on the island or Minster based, because we're at the top of Ward's Hill. And there's a lot around us that we can connect to and start engaging with. So if you're interested, then look at the show notes and get in touch with Tunde. Thanks, Tunde.
Thank you so much. Thank
you very much.
Right.
Take care.